looks like
Shit.
everything's working.
Awesome.
Well,
That
dude,
was
thank you so much
that
for joining
wasn't
me on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
no problem. Thank you. One question. Can you hear yourself? Do I need to headphone it?
Oh no, I'm not hearing myself at all as a whatever echo. That's the word I was looking for. No, we're good.
Awesome. Cool deal. Cool deal.
Yeah, man. So I always like to start out, quick introduction. Give yourself a minute to tell us who you are and something unique about you that people may not know.
My name's Atticus Lane. I front well, it's kind of a half front. Me and Matt share vocals, but I play in a band called Seneca Burns. We're from Charlotte, North Carolina. We just started doing stuff. Our first show was in February. We did a 10-show tour up the East Coast, and something I put everything out there. There's not a lot about me that people might not know. For new people, I ran naked around Charlotte, North Carolina, and in a cover of What's My Age Again by Blink-182, which just turned 23, by the way.
That's crazy. But did you go full naked or did you do what they did, which was the nude underwear?
Hey man, we don't let the magician tell his secrets.
I was just making sure, I didn't want any felonies like reported here on my podcast,
I will say I spoke to several police officers in each location that we filmed, and they were like, as long as I don't see it, you're fine.
That's awesome, dude. So funny thing, I was actually talking to someone who's really close to where you're at, out in Rock Hill. I was talking to him yesterday, so it's kind of cool.
Oh my God. Wow. Are they a part of the scene?
Well, his band is based in Michigan, but yeah, they're an emo punk rock band. They're pretty stellar. They're called Plainview. Yeah. Plainview. Almost like hidden in Plainview, but just Plainview. Yeah.
Dude, let me go hit that up on Instagram right now.
They're freaking awesome, man. It was really cool talking to him yesterday. So this is kind of a small world, we're right here just shooting the breeze here in the same place, basically,
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I love it out there. So one of my best friends lives in Charlotte, and then my sister-in-law lives in Charlotte, sister-in-law and brother-in-law. So it's a good area, man.
Dude, maybe you do, but a lot of people, they really don't realize how small the world is. Like when you go out there, when you go out there and tour, like a couple of years ago, right before COVID, I played. So we went on tour with this band called Home for the Day.
Mm-hmm.
I played like about 7 or 8 shows with them right before COVID. There was like, you gonna join? You're not gonna join? And then COVID threw it all for a loop. But they're they're homies. They're literally my family at this point. And one of the shows we played was at Petra's Bar with this band Goalkeeper.
Oh, dude, such a stellar band. Holy crap.
Goalkeeper's insane. They do stuff with driveways all the time. We love driveways. We went down to Dallas, Texas last year. We're actually going back down to Dallas, Denton, I should say, but Dallas, Texas for Sick Tight Festival on June 11th. We're going to make the trek.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's pretty quick. That's coming up soon.
But they're good friends with, Pennyboard and all these bands down there. And everybody else knows Andy Negative, the guy that breaks TikTok with, the super duper pop punk stuff. It's like, I want to call it a scene, but at the same time, I'm just like, dude, it's just a small world.
It is.
There's so many people that you don't know that or what is it?
Yeah, dude.
How many degrees of separation you are away from Kevin Bacon?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. There's like you can always 5 or 7 degrees of separation is pretty much it between you and any like major famous person, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, dude. So so obviously sounds like Seneca Burns started up mid-pandemic pretty darn recently then, right?
Yeah. It's really funny. Every song that has ever been made, every song that's ever going to be made has been made, and we're all just making variations at this point. There's a band that got started out west of us a couple of hours. They're called All Along. We ran across each other because I heard one of their songs on an Instagram reel, and it has like the exact same intro as our first song. It's not the end, not even close. It's just minor. It's the same thing, same guitar tone, same everything. Another one of their songs is the exact same. Come to find out, I spoke to them about it and we had a big laugh. They started writing those songs right at the start of COVID, just like we did. like
Mhm.
within the week. It was
Interesting.
is crazy. Like when I started writing the first EP, um, it was during that big lockdown. I was stuck over at my other bandmate's house. His name's Mike. He's in a band, Duckbeak. Um, and I was like, dude, let's just mic up the mesa and I'm just gonna run and we're just
Yeah.
gonna go. And I started writing the songs that would become Seneca. I didn't know it was gonna be Seneca at the time. I've done solo stuff for years, but I don't know. Over the last 2 years, things have just kind of fallen into a place, and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome, man. So with the way the band is all set up, obviously, I'd imagine you guys have known each other for a while, or how did you guys all come together to make Seneca Burns?
Um, so there's me. I don't know if you've met me. But there's me. There's one of my best friends just throughout life. His name's John Jenkins. He plays bass, and he's sort of in ways the dad of the band. The sense of humor, if you will. He's the best. And we've known each other since like early elementary school. We never really got close until like we went to college because
Okay.
when we went to college, we happened to find each other in the same learning community, and it was like familiar face. Like
Yeah,
let's
dude.
link up. Do you like video games? And we've just bonded over the years, and he's a wonderful friend of mine. We've shared music, we've shared laughs, we've shared good times. We met Steve-O together. Like,
Oh, nice.
can you ask for a better best friend, you know?
I mean, there you go, dude. That kind of solidifies best friendship right there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But and then, Christian Whittington, the drummer, he's a journeyman of the Charlotte music scene, of the Carolina music scene. He's been in so many bands. He's put on festivals. He runs his own booking company.
Oh,
Um,
dang.
he handles the legwork when it comes to major booking things like tour and stuff like that. He's an insane drummer. He's sort of, I don't know if it would be classically trained, but he grew up in the drum line,
Mhm.
and he's awesome. He's so cool. He's got so much personality, and he's a really great friend of mine. I met him. He drums in Home for the Day as well. Um, and then the other guitarist and vocalist, Matt Jarvis. When I started breaking into Charlotte, so I started out as a rapper, and
Oh,
like
okay.
I grew up on Atmosphere, Aesop Rock, like the artsy cool guys from up north in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I had a hard time breaking into Charlotte because it's not the most receptive scene, or at least it didn't used to be. They really didn't want me to play. And when I started breaking in was when I joined a hardcore band, and we met this band. They happened to come to our show, and they were really cool people. They're called No Rope, and
Okay.
they have uh, married and split countless times, but every time they come back together, it's just this like special thing. And I never got to see them until like right after COVID let up. It was like a lucky
Okay.
break. They happened to get back together. Matt was in No Rope, and
Okay.
during one of their long breaks, he and I kind of bonded and got close. And I showed him those songs that I was working on, and he was like, "When are we starting?
I love it, dude.
I'm in." But he's fantastic. He's super creative in like that. I want to say like that Alon Rubin weird way where he does something and you're like, I didn't think to do it that way, and wow, was I wrong?
Yeah.
He's a great dude. The guys are so great, and I love them. And we don't joke. We just say nobody's replaceable.
Yeah.
Nobody's this is a team effort, and this is the push that we've always talked about making.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, that's quite the super team too, because obviously, having someone who's been in that local scene for a while is always helpful. Then having someone who has a booking, I mean, that's crazy. That the amount of work that it takes to book shows and get everything scheduled and get it all rolling, like that's typically the big hindrance, right? That's the thing that
Mhm.
stops bands from making progress. So like having that built in and having kind of versatility within the band, that's pretty sick. And I am very curious though with going from rap to hardcore to punk rock. How did all these jumps happen? How did this actually go? Because obviously you were talking about is not super receptive, but like how did you jump from the hip hop to the rock, to the hardcore to then punk rock?
Well, the hardcore one was the jump. I grew up with older brothers who they wore Billabong and Hurley, and they had the big dicky shorts. They skated, loved Blink, man. They absolutely loved Blink, and it just kind of imprinted itself on me. I've been listening to like Boxcar Racer since I was like 6, you know.
Yeah, dude.
I've just it's been there the whole time. And when I started to get the itch to make music, everybody was kind of, my brothers played guitar and I was intimidated by it. I was shy, but to be like point blank, I like attention. And I always had like a fondness for writing. And I was like, well, let me pick the genre of music that has the most words. I have the most opportunity to say something.
Okay.
Um, and it took me a long time to find myself. I put out my first song my freshman year of high school, and I don't think I wrote a good one until my senior year. But I think when I found myself, when I found who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, there was one of the first of many in my life that were like a light bulb going off, a revelation, a realization of like, well, okay, this is what I'm meant to do in some
Yeah.
capacity. I don't know what capacity, but in some capacity, I'm meant to do this. And
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I mean, I did that. I put out an EP. I started to learn production because I was like, I want to incorporate these elements of, you know, like punk rock and
Yeah.
pop punk, especially, that I wanted to incorporate them. And I saw that there were a lot of people doing it, but I could never find anybody who I could gel with on a creative level. So I was like, screw it. I'll learn. I've started to learn guitar a little bit. And just over a 3 or 4 year period, I put the pieces together, and there was a writer's block. And then there was an album that I put out. It was called There's Nothing Wrong with Me. It was a part 1. There was a part 2 later.
Hmm.
Um, but that was like, that was the bullet, the leaving the barrel, and it had a long way to go. And I've gratefully been through so much over the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm really glad to have come where I am. The hardcore band kind of taught me more about shows. It taught me more about gaining connections, being a part of the scene. I brought him up earlier, Mike in Duckbeak. He had that band, and he was trying to transition from a skate punk band to a more hardcore band,
Hmm.
metalcore, like Beartooth, and
Okay.
Stick to Your Guns and stuff like that. And he needed a bass player for a house show, and I could play guitar at that point. Like, I had started to record stuff and write riffs, and I was like, sure, I'll just play root notes. And I messed up. I messed up 1,000 times, but all just gathering together. Like, yeah, I'm sure there was drinking, and I'm sure there was some kind of drug usage at that house show. But to be completely honest with you, most people there just wanted to throw themselves at one another and express and sweat and feel. It was so emotive that I was like, I've never done this at a hip hop show. Hip
Yeah.
hop shows have such a bad reputation, and maybe other scenes are different, but Charlotte, I had to cut my teeth in Greensboro, which is an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
That was the only scene that really accepted me. And even then there was so many pay to play things. Drive an hour and a half to pay $10 to play 2 songs.
Interesting.
Like, that is the norm. That is the standard. When I played my first solo show at the Milestone in Charlotte, um, Laith Ali, who is another journeyman of the Charlotte scene, he's been in a band called It Looks Sad, Yes Chef, so many great indie projects. He was on tour with It Looks Sad, and he forgot that he booked a night at the Milestone. And so I was on a work trip down in Wilmington, North Carolina, down towards the coast, and we had finished early, and he calls me up and he's like, "Hey man, I know you've been wanting to like play, and I know you do like the hybrid thing. Like, do you want this? And I was like, give me a second. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, we've got 2 work vans. We're done working. Can I go home? I'll drive it home. Just I need to play this show. And so I did. And speaking of small world, that's where I met Christian.
Dude, that's
Because
crazy.
Home for the Day was on that show. Would have never met him if it hadn't been for that coincidence.
Dude, that's funny, man. And obviously, like with hip hop, I mean, are the are like the themes similar when you were with what you were writing before to what you write now? Is with like the overarching kind of like emotion and theme of the music the same, or have you changed that up quite a bit due to the genre change and kind of the growth you've had in terms of learning how to play shows a little bit more, doing a little bit more um into a different realm of music?
Um, yes and no. Don't think they had the I don't think the change has as much effect on the genre as one might think. I still do write about the same things. I've always
Okay.
thought that introspection and relatability were the 2 most important components of being a rapper without any sort of confident credibility. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is like I'm not the kind of person that can go around and claim things and have them be claim certain things and have them be believable because I don't believe in that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Makes
know
sense.
tons of guys that I'm not even putting them on blast. Like they may be broke or they work day jobs or whatever, but their delivery, the vibe, the aura that they carry when they go up on stage and talk about things that they have that they actually don't, it's like, that's great. Like they have the presence for it, and they're saying those things because it's almost like what is everybody saying on Twitter nowadays?
Affirmations.
Manifest.
Yeah, manifesting.
Affirmations.
Yeah.
It's like their music is like an affirmation or a manifestation. Mine has always been like a diary, so to speak. I've always tried to put experiences, especially when it came to rap and now with Seneca. I've always tried to put experiences to stories. I've always liked allegory and metaphor. Um, there's a character that I've been talking about in music since my early high school days. It's just Alice. I had an infatuation with Alice in Wonderland for a while, and
Mhm.
so I just made the I humanized my vices and demons, so to speak. Like
Okay.
so, because when you're talking about like, oh, I'm drinking. I'm straight edge. I've never drank, but like when you're talking about like, oh, I'm drinking or I have these problems or whatever. When you discuss the problems directly, I don't think it feels like inauthentic or whatever, but sometimes the emotions don't translate because not everybody can relate to that specific thing.
Yeah.
When you manifest it and humanize it and you're talking to a person, we all can relate to people that have done us wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of how I do it most of the time. Most of my conflicts in music are with this Alice character, and for the most part, it's a demonization, but it's just looking in the mirror. It's self criticism. It's it's me. I am the demonization. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Very pretentious.
no, it makes sense because obviously you have to write music that you can look back on and recognize as like a moment in time or a snapshot of something that you've gone through in life, right? Like there's kind of a big part of being successful as a musician as an artist, I feel is being someone who shows that vulnerability while also growing and learning from those with each one of those opportunities, right? And
Mhm,
it is such an interesting world because the way that music influences people changes by the scene, and that's where like I'm curious with obviously you said that you still write about the same things, but do you feel like it's received differently when it's presented like with the way that you present it? Because going from hip hop, where it's very much so focused all on the words. Then you get to a hardcore where a lot of times, like you said, people are kind of just throwing themselves into each other. It's a little bit more about the whole atmosphere, and then punk, where it's kind of a balance of the two. Do you feel like the delivery changes the way that like, even though they're the same words, does the delivery like impact those words differently?
I, depending on who you are, I think, you know, aside from the voice change, Tom DeLonge's sounds like Tom DeLonge,
Mhm.
projects that he's in, you can always, it's like Tom Morello on guitar.
Mhm.
Every band that he's a part of sounds like Rage. It sounds
Yeah.
like Audioslave. It's because it's him. Um, I've come to realize the more that I performed over the years that was like, I very much wanted to be Zach De La Rocha, very much. So no matter how reserved my delivery was in songs, a lot of people always told me like, I didn't get your music until I saw you live. Um,
Interesting.
there was like, I would just, and I still do it. There's a fire, when you get in front of people, it's like crank it to 10. All the distortion you
Yeah,
can
more
do.
cowbell, man, more cowbell.
100%, 100%. Um, and so I think in my case, not so much of a different reception because I've always been yelling at the top of my lungs and blowing my
Okay.
voice out, whether it was me trying to scream or me like cutting a wrestling promo with rap lyrics where it's like I'm trying to tell you how I feel in a way that, you know, I I only tell my people only tell themselves, when you're mad at something and you're pacing in your room and you're getting into it, most times you don't put that out there. And
Yeah,
I find that with music and other forms of art like that, like getting the privilege to put those deeper, raw emotions out there in a healthy way, and like that's like I said, it's a privilege. It's
yeah,
super rad, and I'm very grateful that I get to do that.
yeah, dude. That's that adds to, my curiosity with, not having seen you live, right?
Mhm.
Um, with, have you heard of, like, Hotel Books or, um dang it, I just spaced the kid's name. I Darn it. Or like Kai Rogers, have you heard of any of them?
Heard of Kai Rogers, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because with like Hotel Books, it's very much a very emo guitar centric undertone, but he does the kind of smash poetry, right?
Yeah.
Where it's I think you'd actually enjoy it because based on what you're talking about, it's very much that raw because he's talking. He's not really singing, he's not really rapping. Um Hobo Johnson, that's the other guy's name.
Hobo
Uh
Johnson, yeah.
yeah, where it's not rap, it's not singing, it's poetry. It's like, they get to these moments and they have these really big climaxes of just like they start getting like their voice is really raspy and they're yelling and I'm just like with what you were talking about, that's what I'm imagining in my head is like that raw emotion because it really is um like, it is raw, right? Like,
Mhm.
especially in a live performance, are you reliving a lot of that stuff when you're performing it? You're like, "Hey, I'm out here singing this, about Alice," right? You've
Yeah.
got this demon that you're fighting. Um, in the moment, do you think about that demon, or are you just thinking about the performance itself?
It's a balance. I'm blessed to have the ability. I grew up in high school, I did a lot of theater stuff, and
Okay.
I took to it really well. I was able to keep the script in mind while also going, "All right, is everybody doing their part?" Like, I was like kind of sort of like a field general, like
Yeah, yeah,
making
yeah.
sure every beat is hit, every block is where it's supposed to be. Every improvisation is, yeah, let's do that. Let's make this call. Let's call this audible.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to be okay at that. And I think it's very, very much carried over into live performances because I do like to improv. I like to have fun. I like to be sporadic and explosive and at the same time, a lot of times when a song is new, I will feel those emotions again. When I haven't
Mhm.
performed it a lot, I'll feel something really special. We did a session up at Least of All Studios in Brooklyn while we were on tour. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're really, really cool. You cut vinyl the old way, like
Oh, sick.
a performance take by a lathe cut.
Yeah.
It was super rad, and we cut one of them for the new song that's going to come out later this month, and that's the first song that I wrote that ended up becoming Seneca Burns.
Oh, okay.
Um, it, it I tried to write that song for 4 years, and
Okay.
those albums, those solo albums that I told you about, that was me trying to write that song and I couldn't. And the song means so much to me. It's been in existence since March of 2020, and I still performing it and thinking about it like there's just a pit in the stomach, there's butterflies, like there's something there. But
Mhm.
you take a song like probably the most popular song that I've made is a song called Coca-Cola. It was a solo song. It's very rap, but it was the first like catchy chorus I've ever written. And I used to put a lot of those like their angry emotions. I work a labor job and I'm out in the sun and like nobody likes me and this and this and this. I used to put all these emotions out there and I used to feel that pain. And over the last 4 years since I've been performing this song, and now when I perform it, I'm on a solo hiatus right now, but when I played solo shows and people are saying the chorus back to me in my hometown, it's like I don't feel those negative emotions anymore. I put the song out there and the people changed it. And
Yeah.
now it's a celebration. Now it's a good thing. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a little back and forth. It's sometimes it's what you thought it was going to be, and sometimes it's something completely different, but way, way better.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. And I mean, it is cathartic, right? To like, there's something about being able to look back on a really challenging thing and remember that you came off as the conqueror, right? Like,
Mhm,
it sounds really really cheesy, but there is something about that. There's a lot of value in reminding yourself that you've already overcome some hard things. More hard things are coming, but you've got it. You can do it, right?
mhm.
I feel like there's a lot of power in that, and it's really cool being able to share that with people. Because when you're up there on stage and people are singing it back to you, um, I'm curious, like, what was the moment that stood out to you most? Like, when you've from all your live performance time, like, what's one of those memories that's just like lives in your brain and just and continually will give you that motivation or that excitement or that feeling of triumph that you're like, this is right. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is like this is what I where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean?
There's so many. That's the toughest question because I mean, everybody who's an artist is, "Oh, I'm so humble," and it's kind of a joke or a meme, but, like, there's so many, like, when you say that, the first 2 things I think of are the debut show for Seneca and the first show we all booked back from COVID.
Okay.
Um, the Milestone, I brought it up earlier, it's our hometown venue, it's the spot.
Mhm.
We have the Skylark, we have Snug Harbor, we have these other places, but, like, Nirvana played the Milestone, okay? Like, it's hard to beat that one.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so we booked this show on July 11th of last year. Can't believe it's almost been a year. And it was Duckbeak, a hardcore band, Home for the Day, a pop punk kind of dad rock band,
Mhm.
a War to Win, like a melodic metal band, and Deaf Andrews, a like indie, very poppy, very, you know, easygoing band, and me, uh, a rapper. Total wonky bill, and so many people came, and nobody nobody let the volume in the place go below 100 decibels the whole night.
Dang.
When you've got the small club atmosphere and you
Mhm.
can you can crowd surf, like, stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
That was just unbelievable.
Yeah,
And to
dude.
know that, like, we haven't been allowed to do this for a year and a half now, and, like, you come back to that, like, we can do anything.
Yeah.
It's nothing can stop us.
Yeah,
And
dude.
then, the Seneca debut show was billed as a hiatus show for Atticus Lane, and it was one of those things, like, I tried to hype it up, and I did every little tactic and technique that I could to get people in the building. Um, and I'm very proud to say that a rapper sold out a punk venue.
That's awesome.
But we put together a hell of a bill. There was a local band that said they just weren't interested, and that was one of those, like, there's a big Lay's chip right here.
I'm gonna remember that, bro.
Um, and but, we had these bands take a chance on us, some of them friends, some of them, new to me. Um, and they really believed in the idea, and we sold it out and had just a blowout of a show. I've never had more fun in my life. And like I said, it was one of those things, it was the worst kept secret. Everybody knew it was going to be the last time, at least for a long time, that we're going to be hearing some of these songs. But
Mhm.
a lot of people knew what was brewing and what was coming. And, we messed up a million times, and God, I blew my voice out after the first song. But when you've got, 170 plus people throwing themselves at one another, and they're giving you energy and you give it back, and then they freaking Rocket League it and bounce it back off of you. There's, The Rock in wrestling talks about, electricity,
Yeah.
that's eh, that's the only way I can feel to describe it. I'm getting, like, goosebumps, talking
Yeah,
about
dude.
it. It's only 170 people, I'm not selling out these big stadiums. Who cares?
Well,
There's it's this feeling. Everybody synced up that night on one wavelength. It didn't matter what anybody was, because there was so many people of, like, a hip hop background, so many people of a punk background, so many just friends of mine. There was such a diverse, widespread show, and we all came together to throw ourselves at one another and appreciate each other. And, like,
yeah.
that's what it was all about, and that's what Seneca's all about. It's about finally doing the things that you always wanted to do, but we're a little bit too scared to make the jump.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and don't discount, like, can't discount what 170 people. That's still a huge crowd.
Hey,
Like
man, they turned a
obviously,
few people away.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean, the thing that's awesome about it is it's just like when you start looking at individuals and like seeing the support and the motivation and the emotional connection and it's like a family, kind of like we were talking about before, right? It just kind of feels different because one of the things that I've always had a hard time with when I go to really big shows is sometimes the bands aren't able to make it feel cohesive, right? Because in spite of all of the bands fitting that bill together really well, sometimes when you've got too many people, too much going on, it just doesn't, you don't feel that raw cohesive emotion, that right?
Mhm,
Sometimes you do. There are a lot of times where bands have just killed it, but there are times where I go and I'm just like, it kind of fell on its face a little bit. And so when you talk about the fact that you did so many different genres in one show and still kept it cohesive,
mhm,
that means that there was more than just the music happening, right? There was a lot of camaraderie and friendship and excitement, and there was just that energy is very, like, you can feel it. It's not something that you can really fully explain how you feel it, but you do.
mhm.
It's almost like sound waves where you're like, I know that they're there. I and I just can't prove that they're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the harmonic.
Yeah.
It human beings, whether you wanna believe it or not, we're telepathic. We can look at each other and hear the same joke in our head, and when we go to a show, we all sync up, and I'm not really one for spirituality or anything like that, but that is one thing I truly do believe. When you go to a show and you're all hearing the same thing, you're all processing the same thing. You're all feeling that energy. It's like a synchronization, and it feeds energy to the band or artist, which feeds energy back to you. It's like
Mhm.
feedback in a guitar. It just keeps going, you know.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And that was one of those things that that you didn't fully under or appreciate necessarily until COVID hit and you didn't have it. And you realized when you're watching a live show, you could see all this amazing, like some really, really well put together shows. Some bands were doing some really cool stuff, but it was just missing
Mhm.
that. It was missing, there was just that because even when you would watch old school, like live, DVD recordings of a show, you had the crowd there, so you could kind of feed off that energy still. But with these COVID performances, you didn't have anything. It was just
Mhm.
like the song ended, and it was just like it felt so empty. And it was tough because, like I said, some of the performances were freaking incredible, like phenomenal performances, but it just fell. It just kind of it gets this really amazing thing and then just falls on the ground. And it just kind of
Mhm.
it was sad. So like now with live performances back, you're like, oh, that's what it was missing. It was missing the people. It was missing that camaraderie. It's oh man, everyone in here could believe completely different things, but we're all here for the same reason right now, and it doesn't matter what their beliefs are. We're all here to we're all here to celebrate this music, and it's like
Mhm.
that's freaking incredible.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know, live performance is probably the thing that drew me to music the most. Like I we produce our own stuff, and I've always, not always, but since about 2018 I've produced my own music. And there's a certain thrill that I get from that, from being able to take a song to the car and listen to it, and it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah,
But I try not to take too many pictures. I do appreciate when photographers thankfully do an awesome job that we can't do ourselves.
yeah,
I can't hold my own camera. And when photographers take pictures of us and we have social media posts and things for the website and et cetera, that's great. But there's a lot of things in life that I've refrained from filming and refrained from taking too many pictures of, because you know when you get that camaraderie and you feel that moment, sometimes the memory makes that moment even better.
yeah. Yep.
You don't wanna look at a picture and be like, "Oh, I had a booger hanging out of my nose. Great." You know it's like some of these moments, they need to last forever, and
Yeah,
they will always last forever in perfect harmony right here,
yeah,
you know? And you're absolutely right. COVID really gave us something to appreciate, something we
yeah,
should have appreciated all along, something we took for granted. But you know, now that we're here, now that we've been through the last 2 or 3 years, it's I really think we all appreciate it.
yeah. It's that saying, right? You don't know what you got till it's gone, right? That's the thing that we always got to remember. And when you were talking about being present, like I don't know if you saw Michelob Ultra or whatever the at the PGA Tour, there was a picture of Tiger Woods he was driving off the tee box, and there was a guy just standing there with a Michelob Ultra, just like with his beer in his hand, just watching, and everyone around him, everyone behind him and around had cameras out, and it was this picture perfect moment of someone being in the moment, right? And so
Mhm.
Michelob Ultra buys the photo, pays the dude, and says, "Hey, we're going to use this as an ad." And so now they've created and it just kind of like puts back in perspective, like why were they there in the first place? They weren't there to take a picture of Tiger Woods teeing off. They were there to watch it, but
Yeah.
they were so focused on taking the picture that they didn't watch. They'll look at the picture and be like, oh, I didn't realize this happened or this happened. They'll watch a video of it and be like, how did I not notice that? And I've seen that happen to myself where I'm like, how did I miss that when I was literally right there watching this whole thing happen? It was because I was watching a screen watch it happen,
Yeah.
right? The camera was watching it, not me, and it's just like,
Yeah.
that's a very different experience.
It truly is. It really and truly is. That's why I try to keep my phone. I'll when we play with bands, especially, at the beginning of their set, I'll get a good chunk of the song on video, as a story shout out. I'll get a really, really good picture as a story shout out. And then
Mhm.
from that point on, sell me a shirt.
Yeah, that's me, dude.
all they sell me a fucking shirt. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's me, dude, like, cause I'm on the same boat, dude. I'm like, "Hey, you know what? It's I'm gonna get some pictures right off the rip. I'm gonna get that really sick intro," especially, like, when I'm seeing a band I love that, they've got that production value. When they come out, there's always this huge production. I always wanna record that initial production value. It's so cool. I always want to appreciate that. But the rest of the show, I'm like, dude, I gotta just watch. I gotta just
Mhm.
appreciate it. I gotta sing at the top of my lungs and ruin the song completely by me singing it instead of just letting them sing it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude, that is
That's
a
the
problem
only
I
way.
have. Yeah, that's a
That is the
problem
only
I
way.
have. So I'm wondering as well, like, um, is the solo stuff still happening? Are you still doing the hip hop stuff? Are you just now Seneca Burns? Are you focusing solely on one?
For now, absolutely, focusing solely on Seneca Burns. I've seen people try to juggle 2 projects that they care about so much. Like, I play rhythm guitar in the Duckbeak band, but that's all I do. I don't write hardcore stuff. I don't have a good fry scream. I just I can't do it. I know my limitations on that, but I can learn the guitar parts and I can give Mike somebody really reliable who's not going to diva out over it.
Mhm.
And, I'm just right. He's my like my little brother,
Yeah.
and I'm there for him and he's there for me in return. And, you know, but I when I do my own stuff, it's the same as doing Seneca stuff. It's all that I think about. I eat, sleep, I breathe. How can I make every interaction twist and turn back?
Yeah.
And, you know, I would feel a disservice. I don't believe that I have an infinite amount of time, energy, effort, whatever. I have a limited amount, and I would rather put as much as humanly possible into this thing that I absolutely love and push it with all I got rather than half-ass it with 2, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's disrespectful to both of them to half-ass them.
Yeah.
So for now, while we're, moving forward, while we're doing stuff, we haven't reached out about booking really any shows. They come to us, and I'm very grateful for that.
That's incredible.
While that train is rolling, you know,
Ride
um,
it.
I'm gonna ride it, and I'm going to go into the steam engine and move the conductor and push the speed forward. Um, because that's a privilege, and you gotta take advantage of those privileges, you know?
Yeah.
And but, I mean, there's an album that's done, a solo album that's completely done. I finished it with the intention of releasing it before Seneca, and I couldn't visually get it ready,
Okay.
but it's been a concept since, like, 2013, um, since I was in high school. The name and a lot of the song ideas and song titles, and I just kinda started putting the pieces together over COVID, and I
Yeah.
made these 2 things parallel, and so the album will come out one day. I think, a lot of the songs were made in 2020 and 2021, and while it'll probably come out next year, sometime in the middle of the year, while it will be dated, I don't think it will come off as dated. I think it'll come off as a time capsule that people can look back and go, "Oh my god," you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of COVID references. There are so many references to the protests that happen. I was big part of the march in Charlotte. Not like I was a big part of it, but I heavily involved myself in any way that I could, um, because it was a topic that I believed in. And so a lot of it is really a time capsule for sort of that COVID life for a lot of us. And I hope
Yeah.
that when it does come out, while it will be a couple of years old at that point, it'll be something that people can listen to, look at, and go, "Oh, what a time," you know?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, for now, it is a guitar in my hand and a nasally, whiny voice going forward.
I'm what to you, what makes a song timeless? Like, what makes something timeless in your eyes? Because I know that there have been some albums that age really well and some that don't, and songs that age well and some that don't, but I've never been able to really peg down what I see as like the primary reason for something being timeless, and where you're hoping to release something that you're feeling will be timeless. I'm curious what your thought is about like what sets something apart that makes it become timeless.
Honesty, more so than anything. I know that's a simple one-word answer, but a lot of times you find artists who are trying to be something when you're
With
trying
that
to be
mode,
some
that time, that frame. Yeah.
yeah, it comes off as disingenuine and like I did it. Um
I
the
think everyone's done it as especially as they're kind of going through those formative years, right? We're
yeah.
all mimicking
Yeah.
the fame
So
or the popularity.
yeah, so the first album that I told you about, There's Nothing Wrong with Me Part 1, I was just trying shit.
Yeah.
There's a song on there that sounds like Nirvana. There's a song on there that sounds like, Little Peep. There's a song that's like, emo rap mixed with Angels and Airwaves. There's, the Coca-Cola song that I mentioned earlier, which is just like it's like a long lost atmosphere song. There were so many of these different things that I was trying, and I wasn't trying them for any other reason other than just to try them. It was like I want to do this. Why not?
Yeah.
This is a reflection of how I'm feeling. That album was a part one. When I did part two, I really like part two. And not that anything I said or did with part two was dishonest, but I was trying to do something. I was fabricating,
Yeah.
if you will. The best songs on that album weren't fabrications, but they were few and far in between.
Mhm.
It was less of an idea and more of an expression, and the songs that were more of ideas and less of expressions, nah. Um, and I hate saying that. I hate that I worked for a year and a half on something and put it out thinking it was ready, and it's like, I don't know if any of these songs are ready. You're being a tryhard. You need to
Well,
just
and
chill.
what but would you have figured that out had you not released something like that? Do you think you would have been able to figure
No,
that lesson out?
no, I think it was necessary. I was very lucky that, nobody ever really hated on my stuff, and nobody has. Whatever criticism I've ever been given has been purely constructive and not like, "Dude, this sucks." Um, Not an honest one, at least. If it
Yeah.
was somebody saying that, it was just a troll. That one kinda sucked, and I own up to that, and I don't think it wasn't laziness, it was just, I struck out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can either eat myself alive over it, or I can go write the Seneca songs, and
Mhm.
that's what I did. I stopped and said, "You know what? I'm not going to take a year and a half to write a song. I'm gonna write a song today." And I
Yeah.
did. I wrote the whole song, and it was just an expression. It was quick. There were thoughts and ideas, but the reason it took me so long to release was, how do I release it? And I want the mix to be right.
Yeah.
And that I don't I don't see albums going to hell over a bad mix. A good song is a good song. It doesn't matter if Rick Rubin squashed it, you know.
I mean, that's a good point though, like, there's there are a lot of opportunities to fail, and I think there's a lot
Mhm.
of opportunities to succeed, and I'm curious with that continuation of thought, like, when it comes to honesty, like you said, that's what makes something be timeless and relatable and feel authentic, and because it is authentic, right? It is honest. Um, how do you balance pure honesty with trying to because as much as we don't want to admit it, you have to make songs that people are going to listen to. They have to enjoy it, right? It has to be more, there has to be sort of a business involved. So how do you balance okay, this is what people are listening to, this is what they enjoy right now, with this is what I am, this is how I work? How do you play those two against one another and say, all right, I'm making something that I feel will be timeless because I'm being honest, but I'm also making something that fits right now. It's not just something that people will appreciate in 5 years. It's something they'll appreciate right this moment. and in 5 years?
It's difficult, and it really, really does feel like some people have the answer to that. I don't. That's why I'm in this bedroom, uh, with no AC, wearing a little a bro tank and with a farmer's tan. And seriously, and not in a mansion, like, with a spray tan. Um, I don't have the answer. I know that a few times I've hit on songs that don't feel like I wrote them because I'm like, "This is actually kinda good." You know? I accept that I feel like I've made good music. I make the music that I wanna hear, um, and I'm okay with that, and
Mhm.
I'm proud to admit when I think I've done a good, but I don't know. To me, it feels like a dartboard, man. And while
Yeah.
I can close one eye and I can really go for that bullseye, sometimes it goes wayward. Sometimes it hits the bullseye. And I was trying,
Yeah, I mean, at least you were trying for it, and it's like
you
sometimes
know.
if you it's always better to I always say, when I'm joking with people, I'm like, "Shoot for the moon, land in the trees," right? But at least you shot for the moon.
Well, you know
It's
what's crazy? I always say, like, I'm shooting for Andromeda because if I land on the moon, that's still pretty damn cool.
yeah, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment, right?
That's
Like,
that
and that's what honesty and integrity will do for you though, right? Is it says, "Shoot for something that you can be proud of." And maybe it will land on the moon, right? Like maybe it will hit and people will feel it and be excited about it. And I mean, quite honestly, there's quite a few bands where I'm like, dude, conveniently enough, they managed to be writing like the thing that's honest to them is what's popular now. And that's I mean, that's kind of one of those right place, right time coincidence type, situations where I feel like a lot of bands fall into that, where those bands that get really famous, it was because it was right place, right time.
Yeah.
The style of music that they were writing became popular and just kind of all fit together. Um, and awesome on them. But there are going to be times where if you're staying true to yourself, you're going to disappoint someone aside
Mhm.
from yourself, right? Like and I think that's I think that's the thing that you have to be willing to do is um be willing to write the thing that makes you honest rather than write the thing that will make your fans happy, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something I dealt with, not that I had a lot of fans, so to speak. I had a lot of, I was grateful to have people who listened to my music, sorry. And but there are a ton of people that like, "Hey, when are you gonna do the rap thing? When are you gonna stop this? What is this?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, I watched the Feeling This video in my living room with my brothers on MTV one day. This is who I am. This is what was buried within. I just finally figured out how to do it, and I
Mhm.
finally got the balls to do it, so yeah, I totally understand that aspect of like being true to yourself, disappointing people. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't know what the balance is. I don't know how much of what I don't think it's a formula. I think it deals with the song, the message, what you're trying to convey. There's just like there's a sweet spot with each one because everyone is personal. I don't think people really write too many songs that aren't personal.
Mhm.
I've never really written a song that I might have been joking or being an ass, but like I'm like I don't look at like the songs are my babies.
Yeah.
That that was the most important thing to me about deciding on my status in Duckbeak was like, hey man, the most important thing to me is the music that I write, and I don't write this music. So, this is where my heart is. And he understood
Mhm.
that because
Yeah.
he writes the music in Duckbeak. Mike writes the music in Duckbeak,
Yeah.
and so he understood that. So I don't know. I I don't think there's a formula. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people would like to believe that there's a formula, but it's just staying true to yourself and finding the people that are like you.
Yeah.
Because if you feel it, somebody else feels it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not the only person who likes Final Fantasy and pro wrestling and pop punk and atmosphere. Like, there are tons of people out there that I have all that in common with, and
Mhm.
it's a matter of being able to go out there and find them and shake their hand and go, "Hey, I'm just like you." You know? How about
Heck yeah, dude. I love that. That's such a good way of putting it too, because it's like, and even if, you know, 9 out of the 10 things you don't agree on, you still have that 1 out of 10. And that's the thing
exactly.
that I want the world to just start, like, remembering is it's like, dude, like, we could disagree on so many things, and we can still be friends. We can still be cool. Like, just don't be a terrible person. Like,
Yeah.
don't hate someone for no reason. Like, be a good person, and I'll be your friend 99% of the time. If you're a good person, meaning you don't you don't treat people who work service jobs as less than you. You
Mhm.
don't you don't treat someone different because of the color of their skin or their religion or their political affiliation. I'm like, dude, if you're good with all of, I'll be your friend. Like, that's, and I'm just like, man, I feel like that's the thing. Like, yeah, there's so many people who have at least one thing in common with me. I'm like, I could be friends with that person for sure, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. Well, bro, I before we wrap up, I always like to end with just a few quick random non-music related questions. Do you still have a couple minutes?
Of course, I've got all the time in the world.
Love it. All right, dude. So this first one is because I am a sugarholic. Literally just finished a delicious cookie right before this interview, and also bought myself some gummy bears today. It was a bad day. I just ate a lot of
That
candy,
sounds like a good day, man.
lots of sugar.
Sounds
So,
like a good day.
what's your favorite candy and or dessert?
So, candy comes and goes because I will wear out some candy. Currently, my crack cocaine is, Nerds gummy clusters.
Oh, those are delicious.
Them things slap. I don't remember where I ate my first one. I know it was within the last few months, but I also know that I have cleaned out, gas stations around me,
I love it, dude.
because those things are great. Dessert, I don't know, man. I don't eat enough pumpkin pie. I don't get the opportunity to eat pumpkin pie enough.
I mean, that's a delicious pie, though.
It's fantastic.
There was this place up the road from me that went out of business. I don't even know. It's been a long time that they've been out of business, but I miss it every day. It was called Sammy's, and
Mm,
they would do pie shakes. They would literally take a slice of pie, throw it in the blender with the ice cream and milk, and make a pie shake. It was the best. And they had pumpkin pie shakes, and they added a little bit of that cinnamon, dusting on top. Oh, that was a killer. That was a killer shake. You should try it. That's what I'm telling you. Go buy yourself a pumpkin pie, throw a slice in the blender with some ice. It's amazing.
I I will absolutely be doing that within the next few hours.
Dude, there's something about, because like you can obviously have like the pumpkin pie flavoring, but it's just not the same as having an actual, like, pieces of pumpkin pie in the
Mhm,
shake. Oh,
mhm.
incredible.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree.
And you brought up the Nerds. Have you tried the Nerds jelly beans? Have you had those?
What?
Oh, dude, they're way better than the clusters. So they're
What?
they're a hard outer shell, which is the nerd, and the inside is a jelly bean, right? If you're a fan of the clusters, you'll be a fan of the jelly beans. Bigger fan of the jelly beans.
S I think I have actually. So, do you wanna know how I found out what those were?
I'm
I'm a
curious now.
I'm a DoorDash driver at times whenever I wanna be, and I saw, like, a $12 order, and I was like, but it was one of those ones where I had to go in and, like, shop, and I was like,
Yeah.
that was the first one that was the first and last one that I ever did like that, and so I was like, "Okay, whatever," and I'm going in there looking, and clearly the person was baked off out of their mind,
They're just
like,
needing
'cause it
their
was a
need.
random assortment. It was like 2 little True Moves and, like, Ginger
Chips.
Snaps,
Oh,
chips. There was a bag of chips, and then there were these, like, Nerds hard things, but they
Yeah.
were gummy on the inside. And I
Yep.
remember get it because they wanted the gummy clusters. They didn't have the gummy clusters. So I hit them up and they were like, yeah, just take it off the order. So I didn't order that, but I saw those and I was like, I'm gonna order a bag of these for myself.
Dude, I love those ones, man.
No, they're pretty good. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good.
All right, dude. Next one here for you. Sometimes it's hard to come up with your number one, so I'll accept your top three, and I also allow the cop out of doing like collections in terms of this. So, favorite movie.
Favorite
Like I said, you can do
movie.
collections if you want. Like if it's like I love all Marvel, which is a major cop out, but okay, I'll accept it.
Yeah.
But what are your favorite top one or three movies?
So there's this movie from '96 called Nothing to Lose, and it features Tim Robbins of like Shawshank Redemption and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and Martin Lawrence.
Okay.
Because there was a period of time, I don't know if you noticed, like every 5 years, there's a comedian that is everything.
Yeah,
Like
Kevin Hart's the one right now.
there was Kevin Hart, there was Gabriel Iglesias, there was Dane Cook, there was Martin Lawrence, there was Eddie Murphy, like
Yep.
George Carlin, Richard Pryor. It goes back.
Yeah.
Um,
And then there was a duo at one point, right? The white
Key and
Steve.
Peele.
No, I was thinking Steve Martin and
Oh, Steve Martin and who?
oh, what's his name? He always drove me crazy. What was his name?
I know Steve Martin did a lot of stuff with
With Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase. There
There
was
was
Bill Murray in there. Like,
yeah, there was one. I can't think of his name. He's really scrawny. He played
yeah.
the movie that I can think of is he played Jack Frost in Santa Claus 3. Martin Short, that's his
Martin
name.
Short. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. You're right though. There are decades where it just like a comedian is the dominant comedian and it's just kind of like that's their era. And then right now, like I said, it's kind of the Kevin Hart era.
Yeah. So this was kind of the Martin Lawrence era where Martin Lawrence was doing so many different things, different movies, and it was like they were all written for the Martin Lawrence character.
Mm-hmm.
Really good movie. It's kind of a low-key 90s time capsule without trying to be.
Okay.
There's just so many vibes. It's not like, pump up shoes and baggy clothes or anything like that. It's just like there's just so many vibes. Like there's gas stations and you see the price and you're like, oh.
Especially nowadays. I mean, dude, what are gas prices for you out there in Charlotte?
I want to talk about $4.39.
Oh, dude. I mean, I was driving down the road today and $4.88.
There's one of those. So 3 miles away from 3 miles away from regular highway civilization is a gas station that thinks that they get to charge
They're far enough away.
whatever they want. And they charge $4.89.
Oh my gosh, dude. Doesn't make any sense, man. We
gotta drive to Texas next week.
Oh, dude. I
I
mean,
have to drive 15 hours to and 15 hours from.
Well, Texas. I mean, you go down to Georgia. Georgia's the cheapest in the US. Mm-hmm. So you've got that still over $4. Then you get over to Texas and it's like third cheapest, which is still over $4. But it's and then you've obviously got to tow your gear and all that. So yeah, better have a budget set aside. Oh my god.
Well, we just cut down a car. So we have a chunk less gas to pay for.
Oh man. Oh, that's it's heart-wrenching, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Last one here for you, man. Once again, thank you so much for your time, dude. It was awesome getting to know you and talk with you about the music and stuff. But last one here. Favorite non-music hobby? Something you love doing that has nothing to do with music.
Well, there's a couple. I love playing video games.
You said Final Fantasy. What are some other ones?
I'm a big FF nerd.
Heck yeah.
Souls games. I'm very good at Souls games. I'm actually probably when I get off of this, I'm probably going to stream this bad boy.
Nice.
I'm pretty good at Tony Hawk.
I love Tony Hawk, dude.
Man,
I'm not good at it, but I love it.
I love Metal Gear, Kingdom Hearts.
You played?
I really liked The Last of Us.
You played this one yet?
Spider-Man. I haven't played Miles Morales. I don't want to play things that should be played on a PS5 because I still only have a PS4.
Oh yeah, dude, I don't know what PlayStation like. So I bought myself a Series X, right? I was like, I'll be
Okay.
good with the Series X. I'll be fine. And then like a month later, PlayStation sends me this email. Hey, you've been chosen to get a PS5 guaranteed. I was like, first off, I'm like, I don't believe it. Then I looked and I was like, okay, it is from PlayStation, so it is from Sony. All right, I believe it now. And I was sitting there, I was like, either they think I'm a major sucker, which I apparently am, or they're just like random shots in the dark. But I was like, they knew I was a sucker because they were like, it has to be redeemed by tomorrow at 1 p.m. Right. So I said, okay. And I went down to my wife. I was like, hey, so it's about $600. What do you think? She's like, that is a waste of money. I said, yeah, but I mean, I just got a raise. And I was like, and I'll take on an extra project with my side business. And she's like, okay. So the next day at noon, I made the order, and 2 days later, I had a PlayStation 5 at my house.
I'm so jealous. I have been itching to play Elden Ring. I
Oh, dude.
really want to play Elden Ring. I want to play Elden Ring. I want to play the Intergrade sort of DLC sort of thing for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Okay, yeah.
I I'm jealous. I'm mad. I'm mad. I wish I had never agreed to do this because I'm so jealous of you.
Dude, and
So jealous.
so I was tempted to post on Instagram about it, but I was like, I don't want to rub it in people's faces. But it was out of nowhere. Like I said, PlayStation just knew I was a sucker who was willing to spend the money. They're like, this guy's gonna spend it. So everyone else wants one, and I was kind of like, oh, I'll wait until it kind of fizzles out, it gets a little less crazy. And then when that came up, I was like, well, I guess I'm going. I guess I'm pulling the trigger, even though I didn't budget, I didn't plan it, I didn't intend on it, and it was just like, so
You should have.
you needed PlayStation to think you were a sucker. That's what you needed.
Yeah. You should have taken a picture of it and been like, take the picture, do the box up with the console, all nice, be like PlayStation taking care of the Beyond Rad boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like definitely. It's so glad. So thank you. Hashtag sponsored.
Yeah, as if they knew anything about the podcast. That's incredible, man. Once again, man, dude, thank you so much. Actually, you only said video games. What you said? There's a couple other hobbies that you like doing.
So I grew up an athlete, or at least tried to be one, and over the last few years, there has been less opportunities and less of a reason for me to get active, and I've wanted to stay fit. I'm really glad you brought up golf because I have picked up golf.
Dude, I love golf, man.
It's crazy. I get shit a lot from a lot of my friends because I have a lot of punks.
Really?
Well, a lot of punks, they're like, that's a classist sport, and it is. I get frowned upon, man, because I show up when I play golf. I show up in an Atticus polo and in like skinny pants and Vans. Like I represent when I go to the course. But it's skateboarding. It's self competition. Like you can whine and you can be so competitive that you can be a problem on the course. But if you just sit there and compete with yourself and have a good day, you get active, you get outside, you work on flexibility, you work on your joints, you work on your structural. So it's just cool. It's fun. I do what I do,
Man, screw those people who think that you're like, I don't know, dude, because it is not really like an elitist type sport. It has been historically, but like, I don't know, there's very few, like, yeah, you guys have the Trump course, right? Like in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Which is like an exclusive country club, like no private, it's only private. But like 90% of courses now are all public. Like you just pay and you go. Like it's just like going to the gym to play basketball now. It's the same thing. Like you just show up. a lot of them, like there's very few that have like polo and golf shoes required type things, right? They're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we accept jorts, that's fine, go for it, right? Like that's because I don't know. I always thought that because I grew up playing tennis, and so like
Mhm.
I always was used to like being in these hoity-toity places, and I hated it. My
Yeah.
dad always hated it. He's like, "Yeah, I play tennis," and he would go to these country clubs and play, and he's just like, "I'm not going to be a member of this club. I only go because this friend invites me." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's just." I'm not a fan of being in that type of an environment, but I love golf, and so it's like finding that balance, finding the courses that were chill, you know?
Yeah. No, there's a course about 40 minutes south of me. And yeah, it's a little bit of a hike, but they're super chill. They super respect what I do with music and everything like that, and the style of music that we do in Seneca. And if you got on YouTube and saw the music video, the golf course that we filmed the "What the Hell" at, they let us do it. They gave us two
Nice.
golf. They gave us two carts. We paid nothing.
That's so
Um,
cool.
and I told them, I said, "Look, I'm gonna start on 9 at 8 o'clock in the morning when you have your first tee time, and we're gonna do 9, 10, a par 3, and the last hole, and we're not gonna bother anybody." They were like, "I wouldn't care if you bothered anybody. You're
That's
giving
so
you're
awesome.
giving us free promotion." And I was like,
Dude, that's so cool, man.
they're so rad. They were super rad, and they didn't care that we made fun of golf because it was the video is just like LOL golf etiquette.
Yeah.
Um, but nah, dude, golf is really cool. I'm trying to think of what else I do. I'm trying to pick up streaming. I told you last night, I streamed Rocket League like 5 times for a total of 2 hours just trying to get
Mhm.
settings in Streamlabs. Um, I gotta thank you because if I didn't have to do this, I wouldn't have brought one of the mics over from the studio.
Yeah, dude. It's so funny because it's actually a lot easier than a lot of people, like,
It's
think.
so easy.
Yeah.
It's so
Especially when you
easy.
have, like, literally you open up, OBS and you're like, "Oh, I could just watch a 5-minute YouTube video and know exactly how to do all this."
Mhm.
And, like, I have a Canon, M50. It's just, like,
Yeah.
a small mirrorless, and Canon has a freaking software that allows me to use it as a webcam. So I'm like, "Ah,
Yeah.
dude, like, I genuinely don't even have to, like, do anything." I don't know, I overcomplicated it for so long, and then when I finally started doing it, I was like, "Actually, this is pretty easy." Like, I got myself my focus right, and I just do my routing of audio, and I'm like, "Ah, dude, I'm
Mhm.
ready to roll, man."
Yeah. It was crazy, like, when I really started playing around with Streamlabs yesterday, first off, they make it super they ask you what you wanna do, and then they go, "Okay, here's a basic preset."
Mhm.
Just, like, what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna watch a YouTube video, and you're gonna tweak it a little bit to suit your needs just a little bit more, and
Yep.
that's what I did. Like, when I found out all my plugins just immediately synced over to, Streamlabs, I was like, "Okay, well, I know how to EQ an RE27. I'm
Yep.
just gonna beep, boop, 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 boop. Here's a
Yep.
compressor.
Set your
Here's a."
sound gate, your compression, like, I'm good to
It's
go.
like, there it goes,
And noise
and
gate,
like
I
I
guess.
said, there's a virtual webcam, like, I'm running my webcam through Streamlabs.
Yep.
This is just through Streamlabs right now, like,
Yeah.
it's and I've been playing video games a lot. I've got my corner desk back. This is the first
Mhm.
time I got it back this m there in May.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've had my workspace, my corner desk in 3 years, and I usually keep my PC, 1 monitor, 2 monitor. I don't have the 2 monitor again yet. I got rid of my old one when I had to downsize. But I usually have 1 monitor, 2 monitor, and then in the center is just PS2, 3, and 4. Because my PS3 runs my PlayStation 1 games.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I've always hooked up to an Elgato, uh, 60S, the
Mhm.
HD60S, because
Yep.
it's almost 0 latency, so
Yep.
I don't even use it as a TV, I just run it through here. Um, and I was like, I've been playing video games the past month, and I was like, "Maybe I should try streaming." And last night, I found out, okay, all I have to do is hit that blue button when I wanna play video games.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah,
I'm
you
a
put in
streamer.
your stream yeah, put in your stream API key, and that's it. You click go live, you're live.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I started using StreamYard for the phone calls, like for the
Yeah.
interviews, just because it makes more sense for the integration, because it does the call and the streaming all in one,
Yeah.
which is really nice. Because before I'd drop a bunch of frames because I'd be running a streaming software and Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, and it would drop frames like crazy. So I was like, I'm just gonna go with the easier option. And so I
Mhm.
pay a little bit of money now, but it's totally worth it.
That's usually how things are. Like,
Yeah.
when I found out that I could make good TikToks with Splice for $2 a week, I was like, fuck it."
Yeah, exactly. Dude,
But
man, thank you so much for your time, bro. Awesome getting to know you, and super stoked to see where things go, man. Obviously, the first 2 songs are stellar, so stoked to
thank you.
hear the third one, and obviously you've got the huge festival coming up. You've got a bunch of shows coming up, so before you go, tell people what they can expect, tell them where they can find you, and what you got going on.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, we've got Sick Tight Festival in Denton, Texas at Rubber Gloves coming up. There's so many great bands on there. Bands that I've seen, bands that I've yet to see. Really looking forward to All There Is. I love Further North, Worst Case Scenario, Undercurrents. South State is a new band that I'm really excited to see.
South State's
Um,
stellar, dude. I had them
dude,
on the podcast. They're super cool.
super great, super great. And in addition to that, we're playing a house show up in Winston on July 15th with Fernway Up North Band. Super great dudes, super talented band, super talented band. Water Culture, and a returning band. They're a Charlotte super. They're really good.
Okay.
But I don't know if I could talk about that yet.
That's fine. That's fine.
But after that, we're putting together a headlining show at a newer venue in Charlotte with the awesome new hardcore band Plan B. They're super sick, super cool. They have no music out. They're just one of those, we're all going to go on stage and we're going to play really loud. And yes.
Power to them, man.
But we're working on that. In October, we're playing Welcome to the Family Fest at the Milestone. It's a 3-day thing. We're really excited about that. Talking about playing Monstercade up in Winston in December. We'll have our last song for this EP. So the way that we're doing our release schedules is we're not going to do an album until we can actually make money from it.
Mhm.
We're just going to do EPs, but we're going to do singles that culminate to EPs. And Spotify does this cool thing. If you put the IRSC code in, it'll just eat the single when the
Yeah.
EP comes out. So you'll keep your streams, you'll keep your playlists and everything like that. It won't change anything. It'll just be a full project. So we're going to do a couple of these EP projects. We're going to keep a 2 to 3 month maximum window between songs and singles. We've got a bunch of material. We record at our own studio on our own time, on our own dime. So it's no biggie for us to crank something out. So we're really excited to show you guys a bunch of stuff, a lot of pop punk, a lot of, there's some emo vibes,
Heck yeah.
but a lot of relatability. And we're really just trying to make, we're trying to make my biggest goal over the last few years is I want to write as many lyrics as I possibly can that people are like, dude, I could get that tattooed on me.
Yeah.
Like that is my personal goal. And this next song, the last song on our EP, it's called Do You Know How Bright You Burn? And I personally, at the point in my life I'm at, I've been here a couple times. I don't think I'll ever write another song as good. It is hands down, not even close, my favorite song that I've ever written.
That's awesome. This is the one that's 4 years in the making, right? This is the one
Yes.
that's been long time coming. So, dude,
Mhm.
I'm stoked, man.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, when things get close to another EP, let's talk again, man.
Absolutely. I would absolutely be glad to. Message me and tell me where you are out in Utah. We'll try to get out there as soon as possible.
Yeah,
We're really big on playing out as much as we can. When we went up
sure.
north, we played all the way up as far as like Boston and Amityville and Rochester up on the other side of New York. Like we want to go out there.
It's
We're
a
down.
it's a jaunt, man. I've made that drive many a times. It's about 36 hours.
Oh yeah.
From here to there, it is brutal. Yeah, last summer we were out in um, Myrtle Beach.
Oh,
Folly Beach.
wow.
Folly Beach. Folly Beach.
Wally
That's where we
Beach.
were. Yeah, we went to Folly Beach last summer, got a beach house, and stayed for a couple weeks. It was pretty awesome, but that was a lot of travel time, man.
Oh yeah. I'd
I
imagine.
flew, but my wife drove, and I was just like, I feel so bad for you.
Also sucks to suck.
I know, right? I was just like, I mean, I've got work. I can't just like drive out there with you and miss 3 days out and 3 days back. And I was, oh
Mhm.
shucks.
Tough
Oh
times.
man.
But thank you so
Tough
much for
time.
having thank you so much for having
Absolutely,
me, dude.
bro.
It's been a blast talking to you. You're such a cool dude,
Thank
and
you, man.
I really respect and love what you do. You know, giving bands and artists opportunity to, promote, but you know, uh, also just get that exclusive cool content like this. It's so cool. It's so rad, and I'm super grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, dude, man. Have a great night.
You too. Take
All right,
care.
bro. Peace out. Awesome. Cool, dude. Cool music. They've got 2 singles out thus far, so be sure to go check those out. Seneca Burns, um, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen, and then check them out on Instagram and show them some love. But next week we got a busy week too. We've got Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 interviews next week. So we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. This interview goes live tomorrow morning, so share the heck out of it. We'll obviously be splicing up some clips. I still have clips from last week's interview with Cash, so I feel really terrible that I did not get her clips all spliced up and posted. So getting those on tonight, and tomorrow morning you can expect this interview. But till next time, deuces.